Happy Hour. My name is Kathryn Walt-Hall, and I am thrilled that you've joined us today because we have a very special show today and a very amazing guest. My special guest is going to be Steve Wozniak, the co-founder of Apple. So Steve and I are going to be having some great conversation, I'm sure, and we're going to be drinking some wonderful wines. So we have 3 wines ahead that we're going to show. They are all white, and all of them are going to be wonderful for Thanksgiving. They're in their own way, they're unique. We're going to start with the Stargazer from Baca, which is a Roussanne Marsanne. Then we'll have the Sauvignon Blanc from Hall from Knights Valley. And we'll finish up with a Chardonnay, the Sonoma Coast Chardonnay from Walt. So now I am so excited for you to meet our wonderful guest today, Steve Wozniak. By the way, to all of you who are watching, the Woz has said that he will answer some questions. So if you have some questions in mind, put them up out there. We'll get to them over the course of the program. And by way of introduction, I'd like to play a little clip, part of a clip, of a video that Steve's wife, Janet, did for him for his recent birthday. He turned 70 years old very recently. And so let's see this clip. It'll give us a little insight into the wonderful things about this wonderful man.
He likes math tricks, gadgets, Raspberry Pi projects. He made a camera that detects hummingbirds. 3 kids and 7 grandkids. Oh, he loves taking road trips. He'd give you the shirt off his back. He'd just say the word. Ooh, Woz has got everything you could ever want, including honorary doctoral degree.
How wonderful. And now let's bring on our guest, Steve Wozniak. Steve.
Hi, Kathryn. Thanks so much.
Thank you
It's going to
so
be very
much
memorable.
for being here. I'm just thrilled. And what an amazing video. That was just a little clip that everybody got to see, but were you surprised when you saw it?
Oh, I didn't. I was kept in the dark, so I was very surprised as to what the contents would be. I sort of knew something was going on, and Janet's done great birthdays for me before, so that this one is unbelievable. The Kardashians should be so lucky.
Okay. Yeah, well, so let's start off and have a little glass of wine.
Sure.
First, we're going to do some white wines in honor of you, Steve. All 3 of these wines are white. And our first one is the Baca Wine. This is from, it's a Roussanne Marsanne, which is an unusual white grape, but I think you're going to like it. Let's give it a try. I'll pass you the bottle.
Okay.
Through the magic of the internet, which I think you know a little bit about. Whoa! Well done.
Okay.
So, cheers. Can you pour yourself? You got some. Cheers. So
Savor it.
it's nice, isn't it? It's refreshing. It's a little fuller bodied. This is an unusual grape. Most people in the US anyway don't drink it. It's mostly drunk in the sort of Rhone area of France. But I think it's pretty good. Yeah,
I like it. I'm not a wine expert, but I like it. And I'll remember that next time I have a nice steak meal.
Wonderful. And, there's no such thing as you don't have to be an expert. That's the thing. This is not rocket science. We just, we want to just enjoy wine for what it is. And in fact, on this particular brand, we name all of our wines after a game because we wanted, this is called stargazing. But we wanted to be a reminder to everybody that the idea here is just to have fun. And by the way, that's something you know a lot about, I think. So cheers.
Good. Everyone should think that way all through their life.
So true. And I think you really do. When I read things about you, to our audience, I haven't had a chance to visit with Steve before now, but I certainly know of him as we all do. And one of the things that comes through just loud and clear about you always, Steve, is just the joy you have for life. And I just salute you so for that. So.
Yeah, when things are just right, especially if I had a little wine, it's just, I think how lucky I am to have a life that is fun and enjoyable and happy.
Well, I certainly believe that wine makes everything a little bit better. So you have so many things going on in your life these days. How do you tell us how you spend a typical day? What's a typical day in the life of Woz?
It turns out, well, for a long time, I've been a popular public speaker and was getting on airplanes and flying somewhere. And, like 100 speeches a year, rarely at home. I got tired of them. I am so thankful for this COVID stuff, and all the time at home. This morning, for example, is some parts of it were typical, some were atypical. I actually got up after 3 hours sleep at 4 a.m. and took our 4 dogs for a walk. I drive them down to the park and we walk through their favorite park and then around past the fire stations and everything. It's a walk. And I like to do it because I can handle 4 dogs at once, but I can't handle 4 leashes. And at 4 a.m, you don't need leashes. You're not going to run into other dogs, people, or cars. So I did the dog walk, and I came back and I made some coffee, my morning vitamin C, and I also got a cold drink handy. And I worked on computer, email, and everybody's contacting me and this and that. These events are coming up and this and news feeds. And I got into news feeds a bit to see what's going on in the news from the sources that I feed to my computer. And then I chose that today in front of my office here at home, I have 3 watches of different colors. So I choose a color each day. And today I chose my black watch. I've got a white and I've got a gold. And then Janet made breakfast for me, eggs and toast, which I like. It's a little better than starting the day with chips. And then I was tired. I'd only slept 3 hours of the night, so I went up and took a nap. Some days, not that often. I usually when I get up early, I just stay up all day and late into the night. But this time I decided I'm going to take a nap. I want to be prepared for Hall wines.
Oh, good.
So I am.
So did you say that you normally sleep only at 3 hours a night, or that's
No.
rare? I didn't.
No, I used to sleep 4 to 5 hours for about 20 years of my life, 4 to 5 hours a night, and I'm fine. I was always alert and up and all that, but I'm getting old. I like 8 hours if I can. My travel schedule was all over the world, so time zones kept changing, and I got in the habit that I can just go down, let me sleep for an hour and a half, and now I'm ready to go for 8 hours of work, whatever. So it's all random for me. It's not like everything has to be a very specific schedule, and so often I'll hours then go the whole day. I've had a few all-nighters, usually not too many, maybe 1 or 2 a year is all. Man, when you get into a work mode and you go around the house, there's always a million things, especially if you're a tech person. You got to get this, attend to them all and get them in place and organize and empty drawers out and throw things away. And I get into one of those modes and it'll go all night sometimes. But usually I go to sleep 8 hours nowadays, which is, I call it a little bit long. If I sleep too much, man, I'm tired the whole day. I don't know how to explain it. Weird ways that sleep works.
Wow. Well, I'm glad you got a lot of sleep because I have a lot of questions. And so I've sort of made a list of many things. I don't think we'll get to all of them. And as a reminder to all of our guests here, my wonderful guest today is Steve Wozniak. And if you have some questions, put them in the chat box. We'll get to as many as we can. And I'm going to start off with a couple of my own, Steve. And so the first question I have is, what device are you watching us on or participating on right now?
I'm actually participating on my MacBook Pro. It's probably the most important device in my life. My life is on it. Very large storage on it for storing a lot of personal files, memories, things I've done, as well as, your photos and music and all that. I don't like to just trust everything's owned out in the cloud. I like to own it. I go back to the old school days where you bought albums and even DVDs and you stored them, and you feel more of an ownership. So anyway, that's.
What are you saying? You don't use the cloud then?
I use the cloud because you have to use it, but I use it not totally. I like, for example, I might have a lot of streaming subscriptions, but then I like to own my own, the ones that I like, my songs, my movies, and get my songs even to my iPhone if it's not even on the internet. I got my music with me, and I'm on airplanes a lot and can listen to it then. I used to be on airplanes a lot. So no, it's just I like a lot of the things about the old school days. I try to avoid most social web, and just use old school email, I call it, because it's the people and you're with. And I grew up as a geek and not that social a person. So just, I don't know, this idea that everybody can, I think of myself as a creative person, and a creative person doesn't want other people to say, I know what you're going to say next. I know everything about your life. I know exactly where you're going to go today and what you're going to get next. I don't like that feeling. And you get that a lot when, every time you click like, person, I like what you did. That's what you think you're doing. You're sending a message to thousands of advertisers.
Isn't that the truth? Oh my gosh.
So it's that social dilemma thing. There's a movie, Social Dilemma, that's captured a lot of attention. I think we need a whole new movie called the Digital Dilemma. Everything digital in our life brought in a lot of bad things with it. The internet was going to let us escape the entrapments that kind of control us, all the big corporations and everything. And no, it just sort of turned out that now the internet's a better way to control us and limit us. And instead of one internet in the world, we've got 200 internets all for different countries.
Well, we also get, I think you end up, you can be so reliant on things like this. I just, everything, for me, it's, I tend to be very sort of connected all the time. And not that I want to be, but it's so easy.
And I like it because, well, the computer, I started out by mentioning my computer is safe. And I go from computer to watch. I usually skip the phone. The phone is for people going around constantly. I'm doing texting and I'm back and forth. I'm available immediately. No, I don't like to interrupt life that way. But you become addicted to it. It's like I get up and I do have to do a whole lot of email every day, tons of email, and then lots of news feeds to know what's going on. And it's like, it's kind of a habit. It's a strong habit, is an addiction. That's why I quit Facebook. I just realized it was just an addiction. I always sat there doing things. And if I have solitaire, I'm just as happy.
So do you have a service that comes up when you are in the news, so you see what's happening about Steve Wozniak?
I got onto one a long time ago. Google, some sort of Google, you can say, send me articles that mention Wozniak. And I never looked at it in the past. I look at them very briefly to see just the headline, what they're about. But Janet got onto it, and I think she follows it more. And yeah, and I see things, and but I never go, I want to go to websites and find out and this and that. Every once in a while, I want to just only see, did they get it right or did they get it wrong?
Yeah. Well, you got amazing press. I have never seen anything that isn't really just beautifully said about you, I must say. So music is a very big part of your life. I can see the guitars behind you. Why, what does music do for you? Tell us a bit about that.
Well, some of the people in my high school, my class, actually went to Monterey Pop Festival. Some of these famous, as you go back and see in film. And I really started getting into music my first year of college. And I got into it through the words and songs. And it was Bob Dylan. How does somebody think up these unusual themes? And, a lot of his major songs from Tambourine Man were out, and Like a Rolling Stone, best song of all time. And I started getting into what do these words have to do with my life, my thinking, my approaches to life, my values even? And it became very important to me. So I look at my life and the values that I thought out be good. And here's what I will like and not like. And I look at that and I can almost very, very often I can trace back the way that I act that is often considered good. I can trace it back to a phrase in a song. And music has been that important to me. Now, I loved when I was in college, in my third year, I went to Mexico and bought a $12 guitar. And by the end of the school year, it was all broken, but it still played. And I taught myself, just looking in books, here's where you put your fingers for chords, all self-taught. And I played, multiple times a day for 20 years of my life, every single day. And it was just relaxing.
Well, you've got to be good then.
I like music. I like music. Well, at what I played, and the funny thing is, I only played Dylan songs in my life, but I played a lot of them. It sounded beautiful, but I never played for other people. I never sat down and say, listen to this, ever. I was too shy for that. I just played for my own relaxation. I loved that there was something that I could do, and I love music to the ear. It's just like magic little droplets of, of love or whatever. It's just so beautiful to be able to hear music.
It does. Music, for me, music is actually a lot like wine in the sense that it goes directly to the soul. I mean, I live in a world of wine, but music, you don't have to speak a special language. You don't have to know certain words. I mean, you talk about the lyrics from a Bob Dylan song. Those are very special, but music just speaks to the heart.
Well, first of my life was Simon and Garfunkel, and themes they had, and songs like "Sounds of Silence" was so.
Oh yeah.
But then my first real concert, I came back from that year of school and just been home for about one day, and had a couple of people that drove back with me from University of Colorado, and there was a concert at the Fillmore in San Francisco, and went to this.
Which, by the way, didn't you have something to do with? Was
Not
that
the
a Bill
Fillmore.
Graham thing?
I had something to do with the Shoreline Amphitheater in current days. I'm taking you way back to 1969, and stood in line for a long time around the block to get in, got into the Fillmore, and the first act that came on, Junior Walker and the All-Stars, and he played his trombone or clarinet or whatever it was, and trumpet. And it just spoke right to my soul, like you just described. That music penetrated everything in me and told me that I was going to be a live music fan for the rest of my life. The next group was Jefferson Airplane. The next group was the Grateful Dead. So
I love
unbelievable
Jefferson
concert
Airplane.
experience.
Yeah, Jefferson Airplane, and I remember I used to drive along the street, right along the Panhandle there in San Francisco to go look at their house. Do you remember that house?
I've heard of it. I never went to it. I never quite.
Well, I never went in, but I mean, I just drove by just to see them, And then they became the Starship, and well, anyway, there's probably a lot of people watching that have no idea what we're talking about, but they were great.
Well, yeah, those were important groups in our upbringing, and not just their song Alice. It was sort of like Alice in Wonderland, but they have another one. Oh, I can't remember the name of it right now, and it just gets to me so great of songs. You remember the good things in your life. You don't remember the chemistry equations in high school. You remember the things that really mattered.
So true. So true. So I have another question, sort of talk about chemistry equations in your life. And I'm thinking, who better to ask this? Because you have one company you started deals with applications that relate to blockchain. This is a big leap now. We're coming from the Jefferson Airplane to blockchain. Can you explain blockchain in a very simple way to me, to others?
Yes, you can organize programs. A lot of people say, there are programming languages. You have to learn how to code, but there are techniques. We store data. We store all your wines can be stored in what's called a database, and people can search for it and find things. You find things on the internet. You go through a search. But blockchain is a technology that says, wait a minute, when you have a company that sets up a database and you can get into it, you can store, maybe it's a bank, you store your valuables, your money in a bank, but other people can affect it and control it and get in and, and modify things, and you can actually lose out. Blockchain's a technology that basically doesn't allow anyone to change what it is. It's mathematics. Only mathematics. Bitcoin was the big example, the shining gold example. Bitcoin can't be, there's a certain number of Bitcoin that can exist in the world and no more ever by mathematics. And secondly, if you make a Bitcoin transaction, the transaction is recorded on a blockchain that kept track of every single Bitcoin transaction of everyone ever in time. And it absolutely, you can go back into it, and there's copies of it, like 1,000 copies around the internet, and they're all checking to make sure they all are equal. They all have the exact same things. So no person can go in and change one and make it look like, you sent some money even twice. There are ways to avoid that. It just can't be, it's mathematics. It's absolutely pure and trustable. So trust was the big factor. It doesn't mean that people can't still get your password and steal from you that way, but it's a nice technology that just separates There isn't one party in control of things. Some of the new blockchains do get established so somebody else can come in, like the US dollar, and say, we're going to create more of this special master token that we've created, and we'll get it for ourselves, and you can still be in control of sort of getting more for yourself than other people. But blockchain can be implemented the other way. I'm interested in blockchain as an alternative way of recording stock transactions, or you can think of real estate transactions, one to another. That's what blockchain does, totally reliably and inalterably. But I'm thinking in terms of, like, if you had a company making money already, it's a safe investment. That's conservative financial investing. Instead of shares of stock, which are kind of changeable by the company, we can create more shares, we can allocate them certain ways. Instead of shares of stock, you have it on blockchain. And your blockchain token is like a share of stock, but you're investing in something that really is already making money. So I like the conservativeness of that. And I don't like just saying, I'm going to make a new blockchain, a new coin like Bitcoin, and I'm going to, oh my gosh, I'll own some of it from the start, and I'll get rich, and I'll just put it out and tell people, buy it. Scarcity. The way Bitcoin works, the price of Bitcoin works, you'd say, well, it isn't a thing. How can it have a value? It's scarcity, supply, and demand. How scarce is it and how abundant is it? And there's a certain number of Bitcoin, and it's also costs a certain amount of money to find another one of the Bitcoins that are out there. It's mathematically limited. So I like the mathematics. I trust math and nature over human beings anytime. Human being can, a database, we're running this for you. You sign up for an account, you pay a certain money per month, and we manage it for you. That's human done. I like something that is done by mathematics and nature, and no human can ever have any control over Bitcoin. That was the pure example. There's maybe only room for about one of those really great pure examples, but the technology that created Bitcoin is called blockchain. A lot of things in life, some places being applied now to voting, to citizenship, to some parts of the world, and real estate transactions and that sort of thing. That's too complicated to explain.
Oh, that's too long a story, but I love the idea of it applying to voting, and the idea of being able to rely on certainly another topic of today.
You could have a system where it could be two ways, and you could vote one way and then go change your vote, but up until a certain date. And but there's a lot of things you can do with blockchain that you can't do with our normal systems.
Wow. Okay.
I don't want to.
Now, let's pick a question from our audience. Do we have? Oh, good. Oh, here's one. From blockchain to this question from Cheryl Reese Haslett, who wants to know, Steve, what's your favorite Bob Dylan song?
Like a Rolling Stone, there is just no equal to that. And sometimes like I was mentioning, Isolation Row, an early song that has weird verses about a fictitious world that exists, that he kind of took real people and real things and remapped them. And Mr. Tambourine Man, what a beautiful song for someone who loves music. It's like somebody's surrounded by music and they just go out walking around in their head. And so it's hard to pick one favorite. And he recently he's still creating a lot of great music. There was this album called Infidels that touched on a lot of Middle East themes, and he's had so many great songs. 100 of his I'd rate 5 stars.
And like a great wine, I think music takes on different meaning at different times of your life, as in different circumstances. Music speaks to you more, certainly speaks to me more in some different settings. I'm going to move us on to trying our second wine, and which is this. And we did so well with this last one, Steve. I'm going to pass this one to you. This is,
okay.
Wait a minute. This is not our second wine. I'm going to put that one down.
That's our third. I noticed. One. Yeah.
Yes. Ta-da! Here it comes. It's a Sauvignon
please.
Blanc. And I'm going to pass it to you over there. And you got it.
And I've got it. Oh, nice.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay. I'm glad you got it. And cheers to the internet and cheers to you. Here you go.
Cheers to everything.
Mm-hmm. Now see how this is It's a different grape. It's a little bit lighter. It has a little more acid. As Sauvignon, it's a difference between the Sauvignon Blanc grape, which this is, and the Roussanne Marsanne that we had just a moment ago. Do you like it?
Oh, yes, I like it. I can tell the difference. You mentioned things that you have memories of. My first time ever, because I grew up and I really somehow didn't like the taste of alcohol. I didn't have anything against it, but I could never really drink much. And the first time I ever got a little tipsy, let's say, I was on an airplane flying into Sri Lanka. I was 30 years old, and it was
That's
Sauvignon
a long
Blanc.
flight, by the way.
Sauvignon Blanc. So I just decided, okay, I can drink Sauvignon Blanc. I had to ask my fiance, can you walk on an airplane? Can you walk off an airplane? I didn't know that feeling. It was strange, first time ever.
Whoa. By the way, I flew, this is a story out of nowhere, but I flew years and years ago it was from Delhi to Sri Lanka. And I remember they had, I can't remember the carrier, but whatever it is, I would never fly it again. And they had cats on the plane, and it really was not very sanitary. Yeah. But
back in those days, but I flew in and I was a little tipsy, man. I was enjoying myself, and I told a joke to the customs official.
Yes, how'd it
I
go?
can tell you, sure. Oh, he said this woman saw this big. She'd never seen an elephant. One got out of the zoo, and she saw it in her yard, and she called 911 quickly, and she reported there's this huge monstrous animal out in my yard, and he's got this long tail, and he's picking up the plants with his tail, and you wouldn't believe where he's putting them.
Oh, geez. And they still let you in. You were lucky.
Still let me in.
Okay. Well, that's really wonderful. I think that for me, music and wine have so much in common, in the sense that, well, I already said something about how they speak to your heart, or they're emotional. They also sort of bring back memories. You talk about having wine on an airplane going into Sri Lanka. I can think of times that I had a great bottle of wine. It's just these are special things, and to be cherished, I think. Yeah.
Yes, I'm glad to hear that. I totally understand it, though. I also, it's really funny, but sometimes at a concert, the music is just right for me, and my head gets into a heavenly state. And usually sometimes in advance I'll say, I want to have a glass of wine for this one. And usually a glass and a half gets me to right to the state, not too inebriated. And it depends how strong it is. And the music just, I don't know, has a stronger feeling.
Oh, how
So
nice.
it's a really nice way to
By
do
the
it.
way, a glass and a half. You are one cheap date.
Well, sometimes they water it down so much,
Yeah, okay.
It takes-
I'll tell you what. So, I'd love to talk a little bit more about nostalgia, and I wanted to bring up, you have done so much in your life, and you came from, you're a serious philanthropist today. You have changed the world in so many ways, and yet it wasn't always so. You were a kid at one time who was having fun working with technology and working with a geek, as you said earlier. And as I was sort of getting ready up for this, I was thinking about how nostalgic about us. I have a picture I wanted to show. This is just a little example of, we've been through so many incarnations. So Janet, your wife, I know, is interested in labels, and over the years we have changed the labels on our wines, and things have changed over the years. And to you, there have been so many changes since you started, so many changes in technology that I'm sure you can see yourself in. And here's one picture that I'd love you just to tell us about, because for me, this is just a picture of pure joy.
Okay, a picture has an awful lot of meaning to me, because in my life, you have different values. And that picture was actually taken from another one that showed me leading a classroom of my own students. I taught fifth through ninth graders for 8 years in my life, multiple classes at the same time, 200 hours per year from me, no press allowed. So it's not that well known. But I had two things in my life I wanted to be when I grew up: an electrical engineer, like my father, and computer engineer par excellence. But I also wanted to be a teacher, a fifth grade teacher, because my values of the importance of education came about then. And so I wound up doing that. And this picture reminds me of it. And really, the computer, everything you do in life, I had a philosophy. I developed my philosophies, my own personal personality and everything, but between 17 and 20 years old mainly. And part of it was whatever you're doing for productivity work, for a job, whatever, you've got to build in some fun. You've got to have releases, late at night, you're programming hard and you just got to have a break, and humor and comedy and pranks with friends and things like that. And this picture just sort of symbolizes that the computer should be fun. First of all, computers weren't in homes. Why would a computer ever go to a big? Computers were big, monstrous, $1 million things owned by companies, and even a programmer didn't get to put their hands right on the computer. But I knew the computer insides and out, and I wanted my own. I decided in high school, I taught myself to design computers with no books, no classes, nobody else, no books on computers in bookstores even. But I taught myself step by step how you would. Dad, someday I'm going to own a 4K computer. 4K bytes is the minimum to have a programming language that you can type in programs to solve problems or puzzles or have fun. And I wanted it so badly. So I forget where we started.
No,
But
I love that. Well, we started just talking about nostalgia and how
saw the
things
opportunity.
change.
But anyway, yeah. And I had some great jobs in engineering without a college degree even. I was hired designing the hottest product of its time, Hewlett-Packard scientific calculators. They interviewed me and hired me on the spot. And, and then everything went up and up and up and up, and eventually got into computers because I wanted them fun. See, who's going to buy a computer? In those days, the only thing computers were used for, inventory levels, sales figures. They were for the big companies, the huge mainframe computers. If computers are going to come in the home, I was in a club and people were talking about, we're going to have a revolution, we're going to change the world. People are going to own computers. It was a further out word than rocket science in those days. If you had a computer, whoa, this would be amazing. And it was all starting. And I said, you know what? Nobody's going to buy a computer for all those business things. You have to have good games. And the arcade industry was starting. I had even designed some games like Breakout. I designed for Atari. This is a big popular
Really?
game.
You
Yeah.
you created games too?
For Atari. While I worked at HP, I did that one for Atari. I created games, and I created games on my own. But I had this idea in my head: what if someday games could be color? They weren't color TVs yet, and so I built my my own computer, the Apple II computer. This was going to be the start of a company, and all of the revenues, the profit making for the first 10 years of Apple. It put Apple on the calendar, on the road lines. That computer was the first time ever that arcade games were color. And that computer was the first time ever that arcade games were programs. A 9-year-old kid learning a little bit of a simple language called BASIC could make colored things move on a screen and make a game in one day. Before that, it took an engineer like myself hooking up 1,000 wires on chips, getting all the wires right, and signals going up and down on them to make a game. And it would take, half a year to a year to prototype a new game. Now it was a new world that games were going to be programs, software. So that Apple, that was the fun. That's what was going to draw people to computers. And that's really what helped make this whole industry. And our color was so far what anyone else would come up with. I came up with a way to do it for $0 by thinking so far out of the book. Something would never be allowed in the engineering and the mathematics of color television. And I did it because I knew why it would work. And our first logo was 6 colors. The Apple logo was 6 colors because that's what we stood for. Colors come into computers. Colors come into games.
Oh, it does. I remember the colors, but
Yeah, that was what put us on the map. And we kept trying to beat it with better products, but they just failed over a lot of years until the iPod.
yeah, the iPod was, good. And then it's led to so many other just amazing things. I mean, Jude, the sort of, it's this ease to, it's fun, but there was always something about, it seemed to me that in what you were doing with personal computers it was this ease of interface. It was relatable. It wasn't, I mean, I remember
Yes.
the days
Oh no,
of the.
everything had to be so easy to use for a standard human being. And I mean, I live for that in every product. The average Joe has got to be able to understand it, not a computer expert like myself, and be able to use it. So I'm glad that Apple always stood for it. Largely, we got the reputation when the Macintosh came out, which was our biggest failure ever, actually. Although we still use the name Macintosh. There were a lot of company reasons for that, but the Macintosh to me is the future of the world. The fact that your eye could look at something, two-dimensional screen, and you could tap and point at things the one being does in real life. And we called our screen, we didn't call it a screen. What did we call it? Desktop. Because every human being has a desktop and knows it. It's one of those very human things. And to me, when a product is human, it treats you like another friend of yours that's a human would treat you in everything. Oh, looks like you're trying to do this. This is not the way you do it. Here's, would you like it for you? And, that sort of help. And I saw that world coming with the Macintosh, and the remote control, the mouse. And now we use our own fingers and point. Got even more human over times. And that's really where Apple had a big standout and caught the imagination of people. It's a creative type element. I always try to be creative and think of things other people wouldn't think of, when I'm designing.
Yes. Well, you probably don't have to try to be creative. You just are creative is my guess.
Yeah.
But...
And jokes sometimes, making up little jokes about things or pranks. That's
and that's fun too.
So let's because it came from nothing. It came from an idea like a kid. Huh? Your turn.
What? We're going to do one more wine. And I know
Oh
that,
my gosh.
Right? And this is a Chardonnay. I think actually, I may be wrong, but I'm thinking that you like Chardonnay the best of white wines, but let's see what you think. I'll pass this to you.
Okay. Thank you.
And
Very
you
nice.
got it. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
So this is a Chardonnay that comes largely off of a vineyard that we own. That's not too far from where you are in Los Gatos. It's north, up in Sonoma, but a couple hours away from you. But it's I think a really beautiful wine. It has a little bit of wood, but always this sort of nice sort of lemon flavor, a little nice minerality on the wine.
Oh my gosh, as you say that, I can taste it. It's wonderful. I don't do a lot of wine tours, but a bicycle tour, week-long bicycle tour through Napa Valley. And
oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fabulous.
So I like California wines. One time I was in a show that is put on by the Osaka Junior Chamber of Commerce in Japan for 10 outstanding young people. You have to be under 30. And they bring them from the world. Some are famous politicians in Australia or whatever. And everybody got up there, the guy from France talking about the wines and how important they were. And then the guy from Australia, the Australian wines were better. And now it was my turn. I was up there. They introduced me as having put on the US Festival, a huge music festival, long before the current ones, with 400,000 people. So I got up there and I said, it really wasn't a music festival. It was a California wine festival with 400,000 people. So I kind of stole the cake.
Well, I like that. I like that a lot. Steve, it is such a joy to have you on. I have to say, I could keep on asking you questions, but we've got folks here who also want to ask you questions. I want to give our audience one more question before we let you go. Let's see something that we have coming.
Oh, great.
Well, if we don't have one coming in. Love the dog print on your glass, Steve. I didn't notice you have a dog print on your glass. Oh my gosh, there it is. So the question is, tell us about your dog.
We are dog lovers. I had dogs all my life, and I go down on the floor and I talk to them and look in their eyes, even other people's dogs. And almost every animal seems to really like me. My wife had never had dogs when we got married, Janet. So she came in, she had allergies to cats, and I knew dogs at the time, Bichon Frisés, which are hypoallergenic. So, and it worked out. Jan didn't have her allergy symptoms and all that. So when they died of old age, we had to get, Bichon Frisés again. That was the only dog she really knew. And that's fine with me. Trouble is, I had a rule. Not going to get new dogs. I have 3 weeks at home so I can bond with them in that crucial bonding time. They'll know me as a father forever. I'm not going to do it until I have 3 weeks at home straight. It took 2.5 years. My travel was so busy in those days. 2.5 years before I had 3 weeks at home straight. And then Janet had arranged with a breeder to get some dogs, but she didn't know the day they're born, you can't pick them up. That was the start of my 3 weeks. So we started taking a road trip across the country. The breeder called us. She had some other couple dogs she was going to breed. Their grandfather had been the overall winner of the Westminster Dog Show in 2001. His name was just right. Wow. And so we turned around in Utah and drove the car back to the breeder and got 2 more dogs. And eventually our girl dog had babies. A couple times. She had a couple litters, so we have 2 of those. So we have 4 total now, all related. But love them. I just sit down. I mean, I hug them. I just think so much. Every time I see an animal in a movie doing something good, helpful, or oh God, I saw that movie recently. It wasn't Into the Wild. It was something like that, where the dog finds out it really is part of the wolves. And I just cry. I cry at those movies. And I watch TikTok every night for about an hour. And TikTok has learned my habits. It almost always feeds me things of people helping rescued animals, horses to raccoons to beavers, everything, and keeping them as pets sometimes. And animals helping other animals and doing courageous things. And I just live for that. I just love I love the dogs so much. What a dog can be to a person. As a matter of fact, I'm participating in a charity drive it's kind of a Christmas program. This young girl, 14-year-old girl, is trying to raise money for a friend at school that's blind to get her a guide dog. And I think of it as, and this girl was actually took 300 hours of courses to become a accredited yoga instructor at 13 years old. Amazing person. She does all these good things in society for other people. But this guy is, and yoga is not really so much for the body, it's for the head. Put your head into states where you can really, be in, control of your life, feel good, feel pleasant. But this dog that's going to the young girl is also going to be, she has other problems in her life and school, and dogs and pets and, even large ones, even horses, sheep can be really good at you finding your path to happiness. Not just, helping animals, but they can help people.
So, Steve Wozniak, you are just someone that all of us would love to just, to begin with, everybody would like to just hug you and say thank you for all you have given the world. But it is just such a joy to be able to listen to you talk and to have a chance to visit with you myself, for me personally. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's just been a true pleasure. So come see us now when COVID is over and when we all can travel a little more freely. We're not that far from you up in Napa Valley and Sonoma, so we'd love to have you come up.
Yeah. Sometimes, though, I'll add one little thing about the technology. I'm glad that people are happy and appreciate it, but there's a lot of negatives that came with it. And when you're fussing, well, I'm doing the right human. Why isn't it working? What did they change? Why did things go south? It worked the last time I tried it. Now I have to call tech support. I get a little frustrated. So I used to have this saying that those who brought us this digital world should be executed. But I've changed that. I've changed it. It's gotten so bad for me sometimes that now I say those who brought us the digital world should be forced to live with it.
Well, okay.
Yeah, we have to live in it and suffer.
So let's live with it, with the good and the bad. It's just
okay.
Cheers to you.
Hope
Thank you so much, Woz, for being with us today. Bye-bye.
Yes. Greetings to everybody. Cheers.
Well, that was wonderful. I hope you all enjoyed this as much as I. Steve Wozniak is a man for our time who has all changed our lives in so many different ways and continues to share himself with the world. And I am so proud and grateful that he has shared his time with us tonight. Thank you, everybody, for being with us. We will be back next week. Actually, Jeff is going to be back next Thursday on Walt Wines on Facebook Live, and we'll see you then. In the meantime, to everybody, stay healthy and sip up.